Welcome to our monthly training for our program leaders for the Fire Academy. This training will focus on classroom management. We want a staff that is happy and healthy working in our program. Many teachers often report frequent job-related stress. One of the ways to reduce stress is to ensure that our program leaders have effective classroom management skills. Poor classroom management leads to a poor learning environment for our students and a stressful work environment for our program leaders. Effective classroom management skills will help you stay in control of your classroom and create an environment that both students and program leaders will enjoy being a part of. A classroom where disruptive students are being yelled at by a stressed out teacher is not optimal for anyone. So let's look at a few strategies for effective classroom management. Now, I want you to pay very close attention to this particular strategy. It's the most important strategy that you'll learn. The Fire Academy believes in relationship over rules. The best way to manage your classroom is to consistently build healthy relationships with your students. All of your students, the disruptive ones, the ones that don't want to do their work, the quiet one, all of them. Build relationships with all of your students. Many times, we don't know the backstory to a student's less than desirable behavior. Consider this. It's possible that the relationship that you build with your students may be the healthiest, the strongest, the most influential, the most positive relationship that this child has with an adult. So it's very important that we work hard to build relationships with our students. Check in with those disruptive students. You may find out that you actually have the key that unlocks better behavior. We cannot just throw rules at students without building a relationship with them. When students trust you, they'll be more likely to follow the rules that you give them. Work to get to know each student. Your classroom should feel like family. If you don't know your students' names, if you're sarcastic or demeaning to them, that's not going to work. Before they're ever going to listen to you, they need to know that you care. Next, greet your students at the door. Give your students a high five, an elbow bump, a hug, or just a warm smile as they're coming in the classroom. This allows you to connect with each student, again, working towards building that strong relationship. And it'll possibly allow you to gauge where that student is at for the day. Greeting students at the door helps to set a positive tone for the day. It helps to increase student engagement, and it has the potential to reduce disruptive behavior. Once students are in the classroom, review your expectations and share with them the agenda for the day. This way, they know how the day is going to go. We can have great expectations for our students, but if they're not communicated, they won't be effective. One great idea is to allow your students to participate in the creation of your expectations for your classroom. Allow it to be a group discussion. As a class, discuss why the rules matter. Allowing students to help create the language for the rules and expectations of your classroom helps to build community, and it helps students to establish ownership for the behavior of the group. Students will feel as if they are a part of the process, and they'll be more likely to follow rules that they help to create. This method is more effective than simply telling students what they can and cannot do. Remember, at the end of all this, we're working to build students all around skills and behavior, not just sit them in a classroom and keep them busy until their parents come. This method is also very helpful in finding out what each student feels like is appropriate behavior. Remember, appropriate behavior to one student may not be considered appropriate behavior to another student. So, let's have a family powwow about expectations, rules, and behavior. The next tip is to use reminders and cues as you go about your day. Give plenty of instruction and warning as you transition from one activity to the next, especially when you can anticipate that that transition may lead to a disruption in your classroom. Before you shift, give a quick reminder of the desired behavior and expectations. For example, as we come to the end of a day's session, Give a quick reminder of what students are expected to do once their work is complete. Before having students pack up for the day, remind them that they are to quietly put away their work and clean up their area. Then, release them to pack up. If their behavior does not meet your expectations, have them stop, sit back down, reset, give the instructions again, and release them to try again. Another great tip is to manage seating in your classroom. Seat kids where they're most likely to focus and get their work done. When students are allowed to choose their own seats, they're more likely to be disruptive. Now, one method is to allow students to choose their own seats with clear expectations of their behavior. Also, explain to them the consequences of not meeting that behavior. You can allow students to sit where they want, but if they cannot complete their work without disrupting the classroom and exhibiting any other type of disruptive behaviors, move them to a better location. Next tip, offer a lot of praise. Celebrate your students. Always acknowledge positive behavior. Don't just focus on the students who are exhibiting disruptive behavior while ignoring the students who are performing as expected. Offer praise for the behavior that you want to reinforce. Avoid using words like don't. Instead of saying, don't get out of your seats, try saying, stay in your seats and raise your hand if you need to get out of your seat. That way, we don't have a bunch of students up in the classroom moving around and disrupting other students. Students are more likely to respond to instructions that have clear explanations and expectations. When students receive praise for their behavior, it encourages them to continue to exhibit those behaviors. You can even reward students for positive behavior. For example, at the end of every week, feel free to provide some type of treat, some type of reward for those students who exhibited positive behavior throughout the week. Next, pay attention to your class. Students will misbehave if they know that you're distracted and not keeping an eye on them. As a program leader, you need to actively supervise your students. Your engaged presence is vital for effective classroom management. It may be tempting to sit at your desk and instruct students, but that can be an easy way to ensure that they get distracted. So be active, move around the classroom, check on student progress, and ask them questions. Do your best to interact with your students as much as possible. Doing small things such as making eye contact, giving them a thumbs up, or even just a smile are all things that will help increase a student's positive feelings about their teacher and their learning environment. Next, be consistent with your rules. Apply classroom rules, expectations, and routines fairly to all students. Don't say that you're going to do something and then not do it. Don't single out certain students. Focus on the behavior and not the student themselves. Correct behavior and restate expectations and rules. Next, mean what you say. You do not have to allow a student's behavior to pull you out of character. Mean what you say and follow through with the rules and expectations and the consequences for not following those rules and expectations. These are all strategies that you can implement today. We want our classrooms to be great learning environments for our students and great work environments for our program leaders. We want our students to enjoy their time here, be respectful, and to feel cared for. And we want patient, caring, and stress-free program leaders. If we can help create this type of learning environment, we'll all grow together. Well, that's it for our training for this month. Look for ways that you can implement these strategies immediately. Remember, we are here to help our students succeed.